Good afternoon. I think I'm the last speaker. Then suddenly I realized that I'm the only one wearing tie. But then I looked and realized there's the color of the College Freedom Forum and my tie matches, So both even the Fukuyama and Larry Diamond, they are here to support dissidents and activists. They also roll their sleeves. And I happen to be wearing tie and suit. But as introduced, I have a title called former president of Tibetan government exile. I have credentials of Harvard graduate, lecturer there, senior fellow. But I stand here for freedom. The freedom is much used word. But someone told me freedom is like an oxygen. Those who have it, they take it for granted. They don't understand the significance of it. Those who don't have it, it's suffocating. And I stand here for freedom. That means I live a life of suffocation. For example, Larry Diamond just said he has visited Tibet. He's an American. But whenever I hear that, I get suffocating. I get suffocated because I'm not allowed to visit my hometown. I'm banned from visiting Tibet. It's suffocating. So that's when we fight for freedom. It's priceless. It's sacred. It's a treasure. As Elle and Celine said, 72% of the population in the world don't have freedom. It's a sacred, precious commodity. Only 28% of the people in the world enjoy freedom. So it's worth fighting for. It's worth standing for. That's why we travel. That's why we come and speak all the time. It's a tiring journey. You miss flights. Hotel rooms are so boring. But you speak for 10 minutes because freedom is precious. If you close your eyes and listen to my Uyghur colleague and North Korean colleague and replace Tibet with North Korea with Tibet and Uyghur with Tibetans, exactly the same story of suffocation, lack of freedom. So I'm here to present to you about a case of Tibet. So I'll go through, some slides and give you an example of what's happening in Tibet now. This Dege Dam project and protest is happening now. And Tibet as the third pole. Why Tibet is so important? We all talked about political rights, but I'll give you an example of environmental rights. And then Tibet is very rich in natural resources. That's why it's colonized. Why China came to Tibet, or Uyghur region, or Mongolia, or Manchuria, not because they want to help us, but they want to help themselves by exploiting natural resources. And then Tibetans in Tibet are committing self-immolation, burning themselves. Why? They're saying, I have a life, but it's so suffocating. It's not worth living. I would rather put gas over myself and burn myself and die. I would rather die than live because we don't have freedom, because it's suffocating. And not just Tibet, also the Uyghur region, Mongolia, all are colonized because of natural resources. That's the point I want to make. Now, this is a short video. You can see a monk begging on his knees to these Chinese officials. Old women and men, all are following these Chinese officials and begging them, saying, please don't submerge our villages. Don't drown our monasteries. We've been living here for hundreds and thousands of years. But Chinese officials saying, no, we want to build a dam. And all your villages will be drowned. All your monasteries will be submerged. And precious murals, which is 700 years old, this will be wiped out from this world. These two villages and monasteries will disappear forever. Why? Because the Chinese government, Communist Party of China, or the Chinese companies, they want to build dams to generate power. Do Tibetans need electricity? No. But they said, no, we will build much bigger dam than the Three Gorges Dam of Yangtze River. Because they want power. They're building, Chinese government has already built 400 small, mid-level, and large dams in Tibet. Why? They want to generate power. The question is, do we Tibetans need electricity now? No, we have surplus of power. Why are they building these dams? To supply power from Tibet to China, to Chinese factories, so that they can produce goods, they can produce cars, they can produce clothes. That's the reason. And who own these, dams? Mainly Chinese leaders' family members. Now, they are not just building dams, but they are also, look at the map of Tibet. Tibet is called the third pole. Antarctica and Arctic is much talked about. But I'll make an argument that Tibet is more important than Antarctica and Arctic because when the glaciers and the snow of Antarctica and Arctic melt, it goes to ocean, it becomes salt water. But when the glaciers and snow of Tibet melt, it forms streams, it forms rivers, it becomes fresh water, and it provides water for 1.4 billion people in that part of the world. That's why, look at this, Yellow River and Yangtze River. This is the cradle of Chinese civilization. 90% of Han Chinese live in this area. Tibet, Uyghur region, Mongolia, and Manchuria were all occupied. The traditional or actual China is 40% of present territory. 60% were occupied by expansionist empire of China. It's important to remember. And look at this Yellow River and Yangtze River. Both originate in Tibet. Mekong River, Salween River, Irrawaddy River, lifeline for Southeast Asian countries. All originate in Tibet. Brahmaputra, lifeline for Bangladesh and northeast of India, again originate in Tibet. Indus River and Satluj River, all originate in Tibet. So 6 of the 10 largest rivers of Asia originate in Tibet. That's why water is called white gold, because even the UN Secretary Generals, Kofi Annan, Ban Ki-moon, and Boutros Ghali all have said there will be wars over water. Now, you might know by 2050, we will have 10 billion people, of which 5.34 billion will be in Asia, and of which 60% will live in urban areas. They all need water. And what is the source of water? Tibet. And Chinese government has conveniently not signed UN Convention of Water Sharing. And they are building 400 dams so that they can supply power from Tibet to Chinese region. Now, they are not only building dams and generating power, but they are sending 1 million, more than 1 million bottles of Tibetan water to Maldives and taking the credit. Now, they're not just content with damming rivers and sending water to other countries to generate goodwill, but they are also polluting Tibetan rivers to produce lithium. And Tibetan fish, you can see they are dying. Tibetans are protesting. Look at the armed force present. And we all know lithium. We all have iPhone, iPad, cars. Batteries are made out of lithium. Remember this. I'll conclude with that. Now you can see not just lithium, copper. Not just lithium, copper, gold, lead, nickel. 136 different kinds of minerals are exploited in Tibet. Billions, hundreds and thousands of billions of dollars worth of minerals are exploited in Tibet. For what? For Chinese companies, so that Chinese leaders can profit from Tibetan natural resources. And then I keep saying China, but many of the companies who are involved in exploiting these natural resources are Canadian mining company, American and Australian and European, so all are guilty by association. So why China is in Tibet? They want to help themselves, not us. Now, Tibetans in Tibet are protesting. Peaceful protests, they get arrested, they go to prison, they get tortured. Now, people are saying, now, if you protest, you suffer in prison for a prolonged period of time, and you get tortured, And your family suffer also. So rather, it's better to put gasoline over your body, burn yourself so you die quickly, so that you don't suffer for a long time and your family won't suffer. Self-immolation is being committed in Tibet because, as I said, freedom means oxygen. When you're suffocated, you say, I would rather die than live and sacrifice myself to send a message to the world. We don't have freedom. Please support us. Now look at this number. 85 people in 2012, 26 people in 2013, 157 Tibetans who committed self-immolation, male, female, monks, nuns, including some for the protection of environment, for preservation of their natural resources, for sacred mountains, for rivers. And they all have died. And then most of this self-immolation happened during my time when I was the president of Tibetan government. It's very painful, very sad. That's why I said it's very suffocating. People are dying, and you can't do much about it except share their stories and share their aspirations. So that's why my title is, Defiance of Tibetans, because Tibet is colonized. And I think we have my Uyghur colleague also mentioned this. You can clearly see Tibet, Uyghur region, and Mongolia all are colonies of China because 80% of cotton of China comes from Uyghur region. 90% of rare earth of China comes from Mongolia. Now, rare earth is really rare. It's an essential component, element for any gadgets you have. Planes, missiles, rockets. You have electric vehicle, iPhone, iPad. Rare earth is essential component, and China is monopolizing it because Inner Mongolia has a lot of it. And then lithium in Tibet and all of the mineral resources. Then the question is, why Chinese goods are so cheap? Because of the natural resources, because of the minerals of Tibet, Uyghur region, and Mongolia. They colonize these areas so that they can profit from us. So we are in the West Coast. We have many politically correct, environmentally friendly people who say, I drive Tesla because it's electric car. I wear 100% cotton clothes because it's environmentally friendly. But remember, 40% of that cotton clothes could be from Uyghur area. Lithium battery in your iPhone is from Tibet. So when your battery dies, remember, many Tibetans have died because of that battery. And rare earth is from Inner Mongolia. So that's why people are sending messages saying it's very suffocating. We are very rich in resources. Primarily because of that, we are colonized, we are abused. Why I say this is now, as Fukuyama said, the world is entering a dangerous era where autocrats and dictators are dominating. Democracy is backsliding. There are more non-democratic countries than democratic countries. And often the discourse is, oh, there's American model. One superpower, there's rising superpower, that's China. And between the two, people are given choices. And many say, maybe, American model or Western model has double standards, hypocrisy, all that, which to some extent is true. But still, this model is a freedom-based model. The Chinese model is the model where Tibetans have been suffering, Uyghurs have been suffering, Mongolians have been suffering, Hong Kongers are suffering. Maybe Taiwan might suffer too. And we have lived under Chinese world system. It's nasty. It's suffocating. So choice is yours. And I hope you will choose on the side of freedom because you don't have to live a suffocating life. Thank you.